Welcome to another episode of the Dead Wrestlers Podcast with your hosts, Mitchell, Jeff, and Kyle.
Welcome in, everybody, to another episode of the Dead Wrestlers Fantasy Football Podcast. It is another week of some of the best fantasy insight you can find on the internet, featuring three guys who only talk about a specific 10-person league. We're switching things up a little bit tonight. Mitchell is not having the best of times. He needs a live rooster to take the hex off his mitt. His old man is in the stands, and he has no idea what to get Millie and Timmy for their wedding. He's dealing with a lot of stuff. So I will be playing the part of host tonight, and Mitchell and Jeff will be providing us with some stellar analysis. So first of all, my weekend football, the Niners lose again, but I don't really care because baseball is good to me right now. The Sox have advanced to the ALCS. I lost all my little FanDuel DraftKings bets. Still don't care. Because you know why? I won. I finally did it. I actually won. As I said on the text message thread, despite my best efforts in setting what was probably the dumbest lineup I've done all year, I actually won. Sorry, Jen, but we'll get into that a little bit later. Mitchell, how was your weekend?
Well, I enjoyed the Cowboys winning, and I took down Wes. So therefore, I cannot lose, and I am unstoppable, and I am eternal, and I will never ever lose again, ever. But that's it. I really enjoyed the Cowboys winning.
Good. Congratulations for you. I realized that I referenced both of you in my introduction, but I didn't actually introduce either one of you. So the man who just spoke is Mitchell Stuckey, our normal host, but taking a back seat tonight. And also joining us is Jeff Donaldson for the second consecutive week and a now permanent fixture of the show. Jeff, sorry about that. How was your weekend?
Well, I went 5-0 in all my fantasy leagues. The Eagles won in Carolina. The Flyers and Sixers are coming up, and Ben Simmons is back in Philadelphia, so it can't get much better than this.
It's a good weekend for Jeff and the city of brotherly love, then, I guess. Mitchell, you should be happy. We finally had a significant trade go down. Came in response to an injury to Russell Wilson in the Thursday night game, but we had Adam sending Justin Herbert to Wes for DeAndre Hopkins. That is correct, everybody. Just Justin Herbert for DeAndre Hopkins. Straight up trade. Nothing else involved there. I think there's some strong opinions on this trade. I'm going to kick it to you, Jeff, though. How do you feel? Who won this trade? And if you don't mind saying, how did you vote on the trade?
Well, I know we talked about trades and one trade partner using a strength to fill a weakness and vice versa. I kind of feel this kind of went this way with Adam getting DeAndre Hopkins to fill a need, but I feel Wes clearly won this one, getting a 23-year-old ascending QB and potential likely keeper for a pushing 30-year-old receiver that Adam probably isn't going to keep anyway.
Yeah, I think it definitely reads like that. Mitchell?
I was going to say, I'll jump in and I'll say, at first, I definitely felt that Adam won the trade. I felt like DeAndre Hopkins was a steal, especially for a quarterback, because you can stream quarterbacks, but Herbert is pretty unbelievable, and Jeff convinced me of that. But with that being said, I want to talk about another trade, a trade that did not happen. A little gossip for you. So,
all right. Let's hear the dirt.
So last week, I was sending trade offers to everybody, trying to get a running back. This week, the only person I mentioned on the show last week, the only person I got to bite was Wes. Obviously, eventually I did end up making the deal with Jen, but I got Wes to bite. And the trade was Amari Cooper for Jonathan Taylor. Jonathan Taylor hadn't done much up to the season. Amari Cooper's been all right. And Wes agreed. I hit reject initially, and then I sent it back out to him, and he said, since we're playing each other this week, we're going to go ahead and hold off. And I said, all right, but the trade's still good, right? And he said, yes. He said, next week we'll do the trade. then this whole thing with Hopkins goes down, which, by the way, he's in the middle of texting me, hey, man, I said, hey, can I add Dak Prescott to the trade with Jonathan Taylor and we'll add somebody else? And he said, sure. And then all of a sudden this trade goes through and he sends DeAndre Hopkins for Justin Herbert. And I was like, all right, well, whatever. But our trade for Jonathan Taylor is still good, right? He says, yeah. And then today he says, you know what? It's not good. I'm going to go ahead and reject the trade offer. What is that about? He is not a man of his word. I am devastated. Devastated.
He pulled a Zach.
Wow.
And
it's all your fault. Because you hit reject, Mitchell.
I did. I should have, taken the opportunity in front of me, but I didn't, and that's on me. That's my fault. But I made sure to say in the text, "Hey, is the trade still good after this week?" And he said, "Yeah." So this is bigger than a Zach, because Zach just threw it out flippantly on the podcast last year, and then when it came down to make the trade, said no. This was a legit conversation, and he has backed out. What are your thoughts?
I mean, it sounds like you guys had a verbal agreement on the trade there. Now, granted, it wasn't official; the buttons weren't clicked. It's a pretty messed up move on Wes's part there. But I think you also too, Mitchell. You gotta always be closing. You gotta get the deal. You could have been like, hey, just accept the trade now, and then it'll process over the weekend, and people won't vote on it, and we won't push it through, and it won't take effect until after the weekend, anyways. Like, you got to say what you got to say in those moments to get the deal done, make the trade fully happen. It happens in the NFL all the time. A team thinks they're about to trade for somebody and then ends up going somewhere else, or something different happens. I mean, Kyle Shanahan went to bed thinking he was going to be getting Matthew Stafford in the morning and woke up to finding that he was going to the Rams instead. So, I mean, it happens. It's a dirty business. You'd think in a gentleman's league like this, you wouldn't have to deal with something like that, but
you'd be wrong.
It is what it is.
You would be wrong. You would not expect this kind of.
It'd be interesting some of the emails that would turn up if you went into the history of this league, I bet.
Gosh. Oh my gosh. I'm disappointed in US. Very disappointed, and I'm just going to leave it at that.
All right. Well, since I get to be the host this week, I added my suggestion from last week for this week's of lineup masters and failures. So this is a little segment. This is new to the show that we're doing here, but we're going to be naming our best roster move, and this is something anybody in the league could have done. Just a good roster decision that they made, worked out well for them, and a really bad one. So I'm going to start it off, and Zach, who is no longer the worst trade partner, I give the best roster move to him. He put Pittman in over Renfro. Renfro be coming off of 2 big weeks, close to 20. And he ended up putting 11 on his bench. And, Pittman for the Colts had 13 and 12 the previous 2 weeks, and he comes out there with 20. So I would not have made that roster move looking at it. I would have gone with Renfro being the hot hand. But, nice work, Zach. You made a bold choice there, and it paid off for you, and you got an additional 9 points by going that way. So you get my best. My worst, I give it to myself. In what felt like desperation after starting 0-4, I made a bunch of questionable roster decisions and switched some people out. Most of them were the wrong ones. I'm going to go with benching the reigning MVP for a 21-year-old in his first ever NFL start as the worst roster decision of the week for me. Jeff, what about you? Who stood out and who made a laughable decision like me?
So one of the ones that stood out for me was Jeremy picking up and starting Kadarius Toney instead of Deontay Johnson, and obviously Calvin Ridley wasn't playing anyway, but that was a bold move and one that paid off for him. And while we were doing our notes, I originally had Wes not starting Herbert, but I failed to realize that the Thursday night game had already been played before he would have been able to roster him. So I was going to say you starting Lance over Rodgers. So I'm going to go with that one.
Yeah, no, I mean, obviously, I agree with you. I don't think anybody made a worse or dumber decision this week than myself. So, yeah, I concur. Mitchell, what about you? Is anyone dumber than me?
Well, I'll do worst, I guess, first. I think it's also you because you benched Kyle Pitts for Mike Gesicki. The Falcons had Ridley down. The Falcons had Gage down. They only had Kyle Pitts, and you went with Gesicki. But I will also, not to pile on to you too much, I'll say that I made a boneheaded decision. I started Jamison Crowder against the Falcons, thinking he would do well. Zach Wilson threw to him last week. That was wrong. Zach Wilson didn't know what to do over there in London, and I started Jamison Crowder over Myles Gaskin, who finally figured out how to play football against, of all teams, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I did not see that coming. Running backs don't typically do well against Buccaneers, and Gaskin had himself a day. The best starting decision that I saw from the league was Justin starting Mike Williams over Adam Thielen. It's crazy to think that he would do that. Adam Thielen has just been living in the end zone, and Mike Williams is always a crazy catch away from falling on the ground too hard and being injured the rest of the game. So Mike Williams, he seems like he's legit this year, but to me, it was a crazy roster move to put Mike Williams in over Adam Thielen, and it more than paid off for Justin.
And just to defend myself against myself, I looked at the Pitts Gesicki move, but the reason I did not start Pitts is because, for the same reason that you said, I figured he was the only offensive weapon the Jets were going to key defensively on him, and random people that we've never heard of would be the ones getting the fantasy points. But at 0-4, I need to do the exact opposite of what my instincts are telling me. It seems. We are not going to cover the pretenders and contenders this week. We will revisit that in a few weeks as we get closer to the playoff push. I think we all know where we're at with that. So let's jump right into the results from last week. And we're going to start with the matchup of two 0-4 teams. Something had to give. Someone had to win. And I did. I beat Jen 138 to 120. Jeff, what are your thoughts on this matchup?
Well, I wasn't as close as you were on the final score prediction, and I did have it backwards. So congratulations, Kyle, on your victory, and sorry, Jen, to go to 0-5.
All right, Mitchell.
That's me
All right.
now. I get to talk.
I know.
I guaranteed a victory for Jen, and clearly I was wrong. I thought that Kyle, you have the least amount of points for. Your team is awful. I'm not afraid to admit it. Jen's team, I think, has done well week over week, and yet it didn't pan out for her. So I am devastated that I guaranteed the victory, and she still did not get the victory. That being said, I'm at least happy I don't have to get a tattoo after this.
Well, I was hoping you would have to get a tattoo, Mitchell, but I'll settle for the win. Even though I probably didn't deserve it with the ridiculous roster decisions that I made. But honestly, I could not have. The only thing worse I could have done was put Jared Cook in for Mike Gesicki, and I still would have won. There was nothing I could have done other than drop my team and pick up people that would have prevented me from winning this matchup. So, it is what it is. Despite my best efforts, like I said, I actually won. Thank goodness everyone is on a bye for me next week, so I literally have 0 decisions to make. Otherwise, I could be going 1-5. But so that'll take us into Jeff's matchup this week or last week. He went up against Dan, and I put this all on Tyreek Hill. I said Tyreek Hill was going to need to score over 25 in order for Jeff to win. That did not happen. I think he got around 14, and Jeff absolutely decimated Dan. 192. That's right, 192 to 125. That's more than double my week 1 score. Just throwing that out there. 192, a monster number. Jeff, you shined. And Dan, you would have lost to me. So you didn't do very well. Mitchell, what did you think of Jeff's ridiculous performance?
I'm wrong again. 2 games in a row. I guaranteed Jen's victory. I was wrong. I thought Dan would come in and beat Jeff. Jeff's team went nuts. Monday Night Football was good to Jeff's team. It was unbelievable what they were able to do, and it especially after they started so slow. So, hats off to Jeff. That's going to be the most points you put up all season.
Well, we'll see about that. So, well, it turns out I was right about which versions of Jones and Lockett would show up. I was completely wrong in my prediction about Miles Sanders potentially being a deciding factor, as once I heard that CMC was not playing, I swapped him out in favor of Chuba, which turned out to be a wise move. He did get me more points than Miles did sitting on the bench. But I will admit I was a little bit scared, just a little bit scared, going into halftime when it was a close game. It wasn't until Marquise Brown at the end of the third quarter caught that touchdown pass that I felt comfortable and could go to bed knowing I won. I did not know when I woke up the next morning that they would have just blown up the entire fourth quarter. I did not expect Lamar Jackson to put up 40 plus, almost 50 points, and potentially none of it being on the ground. I think he had 40 yards rushing, no touchdowns, all of it through the air. Did not see that coming. But I am happy that it did happen. So
Well, congratulations, Jeff. And your moment in the limelight will continue. Why don't you tell us about Mitchell's victory against Wes, 143 to 128. Take it away, Jeff.
Well, on this one, I had predicted that Dallas would not blow up offensively against a division rival. I was absolutely wrong about that. Not only did Dallas indeed explode offensively, I am pretty sure Mitchell's underwear exploded during that game as well.
You better believe it. You better believe it was great.
Yeah, I was 100% wrong on this one as well. I think we got the trifecta of all of us being wrong on this one. We all picked Mitchell to lose. I even said it was a no-brainer. I predicted that Wes would score 156, and had he done that, he would have beaten Mitchell. But unfortunately, he could not. And as I'm going to be referring to them now, Dak Prescott, Ezekiel Elliott, and Amari Cooper, the three amigos, carried Mitchell's team against El Guapo and his plethora of pinatas. Also, Wes losing his starting quarterback in the Thursday night game definitely pretty much changed the projected outcome of this matchup right from the start. So I'm sure it had to be a tough weekend for Wes. And Mitchell, you had to be excited after that Thursday night matchup. Take us through your thoughts during this.
Once again, I was wrong on my matchup. I don't know. I don't know. What can I say? I won. That was crazy. I mean, me over Wes. And the Cowboys came through. The Cowboys are going to have to keep coming through if I'm going to keep winning. So, I don't know. I'm pumped. I won. Wes, you suck. It's good to rub it in because you suck and you didn't trade me Jonathan Taylor. You suck.
No, it does suck, and it did suck. I'm sure for him seeing Herbert get 50 on his bench, but as Jeff pointed out, there wasn't anything he can do about it. You're always high on Wes's team, so we'll see how he does moving forward. But let's take it to Wes's trade partner, Adam, in his matchup against Jeremy. Mitchell, you have strong feelings about both of these teams. Why don't you take it away here?
I will just say that I didn't even make a prediction last week. Not that I recall. I just said I don't care about this game. It was boring, and I didn't. It was the two worst people ever going against each other, and way to go, Adam. You won. I don't care.
I believe you did say something along the lines of wanting them both to lose, perhaps. I don't know. But yeah, no, I don't think you ever made an official prediction because I think you had a lot of hatred towards this matchup or apathy as you seem to not care. But I would say I was also wrong, but I did make my prediction under the assumption when we recorded last week that CMC was going to play. However, I still probably would have went with him. I think that if Adam did win. He did benefit from the 20 points that was put up by D-Hop, but I still think that Wes won that trade. But it definitely helped Adam out this week. Even without the big outing from Hopkins, he still would have won. But, as we talk about total points scored, it's always nice to tack those on when you can. Jeff, what did you think about Jeremy and Adam?
Well, I did predict that Adam would win this, and I predicted that Eckler and Cook would combine for 50-plus points on this. I was obviously wrong. Cook didn't play. Eckler did ball out, though, had 30-plus points on this one. So at least I can pat myself on the back for getting that one right.
Yeah, no, the entire Chargers offense just had a day. But let's keep us rolling here. Jeff, why don't you tell us about Zach's 148, which was enough to beat a lot of teams, but not enough to beat Justin this past week, who put up the second highest point total compared to only you, Jeff, at 181. What were your thoughts on this guy?
Well, I was wrong on that one. I thought Zach would win. I predicted Zach would win. I predicted Diggs and Henry would have monster days. Henry did ball out. Diggs had a mediocre for him day. But I think we can all rejoice in the fact that Zach lost. He's no longer undefeated. And this proves that us here, are all right about Justin being a contender.
It's funny that you say that, actually, because I have yet to admit that Justin is a contender. I have been playing the numbers game, and I have been saying that Justin's points for don't necessarily put him into that contender echelon. But not only was I wrong about that, Justin, I was also wrong about who I thought was going to win this one, and that's what I get for picking Zach in the first place to win. I was just asking to be wrong. But Justin, I was wrong about your team. I have said you are not a contender, but after 181 in this week, I will admit that I was wrong at that as well. You, sir, are a contender. I know we're not getting into the pretenders and contenders this week, but I needed to put that out there into the universe on the intranet for everyone to know that Justin's team is a contender. Zach, you still are not, just because. So that is going to lead us into the random questions part where Jeff is actually writing in a question.
Hold on.
Okay, hot dog. All right, I didn't know where that was going.
I don't get to talk about Zach losing?
Oh, that's right. We did skip over you, Mitchell. I'm sorry about that.
Are you serious?
Yes. Please. No, this is the highlight of the night for you, is to talk about Zach losing. I am sorry. Yeah. I got distracted by Jeff typing a question into the random question spot. So,
I was just going to say
fulfilled.
That this is yet another game. I think I was wrong on every single game that I predicted last week, and I was wrong here as well. But this time, I am happy about it. Justin went out and just spanked Zach, and I appreciate that. Zach is now spiraling. He's not sure what to do. He's ready to trade his beloved Stephon Diggs. I'm glad he's been defeated, and I hope to keep that going. I hope to see him continue to slide.
All right. Now that we've gotten through that and you've gotten to talk about Zach sucking and Justin being awesome, we'll go into the random question spot. I know we've done it the quick hitters before, the random questions. I just got one question for each of you guys, and it's going to stem from the trade that we saw this week with Adam and Wes. I personally feel that Adam traded away the wrong quarterback. If he needed help with the wide receiver and wanted to take advantage of West, who is now desperate for a quarterback with Russell Wilson going down, I think he should have traded him Jalen Hurts. I feel that he kept Jalen Hurts because he is an Eagles fan and Jalen Hurts is his favorite quarterback, obviously. And I don't know anybody that would start a home team favorite quarterback over a award-winning quarterback from last year, as in the offensive rookie of the year, Justin Herbert. Jeff, you don't seem to have a whole lot of Eagles players on your team's Miles Sanders, but do you feel that drafting your favorite team's players can be a hindrance or a help in fantasy football?
I tend to stay away from them. I think too much emotional attachment, too much positive thinking about how the season's going to play out before it actually happens. I've also drafted them in the past and got bitten by it, so I don't like to make the same mistake twice. I tend to stay away from. I know that I did draft Miles Sanders, but that was basically drafting on a position of need. I needed another running back. That one obviously hasn't panned out for me this year, but I tend to stay away from homer picks as much as possible.
Fair enough. I think I've been guilty 2 years in a row now of having a injured running back as a result of it, and I clearly made some mistakes this weekend. Mitchell, similar question to you. How much have you regretted drafting 3 Cowboys players since the night of the draft?
Well,
And just take us through the anguish.
I drafted 4 of them.
Oh, that's right.
And to be honest with you, I kind of want 2 more. So I do regret it. In my other leagues, I don't have as many Cowboys. I learned from the first draft. So I definitely regret it. I want to. I just want to say it was not a good draft strategy. However, when the Cowboys do well, they do spread the ball out, and I do well. It's just they're not always going to play the Giants and the Eagles. So when they face a tougher defense like they did against the Chargers, I have no chance. I regret it.
Mm-hmm. Fair enough. And quick follow-up question to that. Who would you start in fantasy, Dak Prescott or Justin Herbert?
Who would I start? In fantasy,
hypothetically, they're both on your team.
I think it would be the smarter move to probably start Justin Herbert.
All right. Well, that's exactly where I was going with that. So thank you for that, Mitchell and Jeff. Let's jump into our Week 6 predictions coming up here, right? We're going into Week 6 now? Yeah. No, we've been doing this for a month and a half now. All right, well, starting us off with the matchups is going to be Justin versus Jeremy's, a little J versus J. ESPN is calling this a toss-up at 50% each. CMC is finally back this week. Hopefully we're not correcting that next week when we're recording again, but all signs point to he is playing. Despite Justin's 180-point shellacking of Zach last week and my newfound declaration of his contender status, he's going to lose. I'm going to be picking Jeremy on this one. Mitchell, who do you have?
Well, Justin's been setting the correct lineups every week. I think that he's having a tough time deciding on his quarterback. He's currently streaming quarterbacks. If I'm him, I'm going to not stream Sam Darnold. With that being said, I think if I'm him, I also make a permanent move at quarterback. He should think about trading. I mean, he's got depth. He's got a lot of depth, and see if he can get a decent quarterback in that area. He's not going to pull off a Justin Herbert-like trade, but he's got the
I got pieces. A Jameis Winston.
I don't know that that's a good trade.
I've got a Lamar.
That would be a very good trade for him. So I think that Justin should make a move there. I think Justin still wins regardless. I do hope that he does make the right decision on quarterback. With that being said, it is never a good idea to count out a team that has Christian McCaffrey. He's unbelievable. If he plays, I mean, he could put up 40 points easily. Go Justin.
I mean, I feel like if you're Justin on this one, as long as all of CMC's points come via the pass, you're okay with it. But Jeff, what are your thoughts on this matchup? And also, what do you want for Lamar Jackson?
Okay, so matchup first. As of right now, based on who he has in his lineup, he has Sam Darnold starting, not Tannehill. So my prediction on this one is all going to boil down to who performs better for each team. Is it Sam Darnold or Kareem Hunt? I think if Darnold resembles any part of the first 3 weeks of the season and picks up a score with his legs, I think Justin wins. If he doesn't and looks like the Darnold from the last 2 weeks, I think, and Hunt steals another TD or two from Chubb, I think Jeremy wins. I think it's a toss-up, as ESPN is projecting. I think it's going to boil down to those two things. Whichever one happens, that team wins. Now, as far as Lamar goes, I'm going to want something decent in return. He is a top 5 quarterback. Um, he's young, and he's a 10th round keeper for whoever would trade for him. I can't keep him next year. It makes sense for me to offer him up at some point this year, if not this early in the season, maybe a little bit later in the year, ride him out a little bit longer. But um, it would be nice to get some sort of keeper for keeper type swap, whether that's quarterback or running back or somebody that, would be a top 5 at their position is what I would be looking for in return. Keeper for keeper.
Interesting. I like that. I like that strategy, Jeff. I didn't even think about that. Someone that you can't keep anymore, but has good, value at the keeper level for the round they were drafted at. It's a, it's a very smart strategy. I am impressed. So let's keep blowing me away with some great ideas. What do you think about the Zach versus Mitchell matchup? I'm really interested in this one. I'm going to be watching this one closely this week. But ESPN right now is projecting Zach with a 58% chance of victory. Do you agree with that, Jeff?
I do. I think despite Zach not having Clyde Edwards-Helaire, I think he will win. I don't think Miles Gaskin can. I had Gaskins on my sheet. I don't think Miles Gaskin can replicate what he did last week again. I think he will come back down to earth. And I don't know what you're going to get from Javonte Williams and Darnell Mooney. I think that's a toss-up. That could go either way. But with that said, if both of those two get in the end zone, I think Mitchell can steal this game.
All right. Well, I don't have a whole lot of faith in Mitchell, but for some reason, and it feels really weird to say this, I do think the Cowboys' offense stays hot, so I have faith in them. And I also find that ESPN projecting 32.16 points for Mahomes is laughable. I'm not trying to knock Mahomes at all. He's great. He's fantastic. But the Chiefs, they have not been able to block and stop that pass rush the last few weeks. And until they can actually do that, teams are just going to be going hot after Mahomes into that backfield all day. And the one good thing that Washington has on its defense is their front seven. I'm not saying Mahomes is going to have another bust of a game, but I think the 32.16 projection is a little ridiculous. So I am predicting Mitchell to win 2 in a row for the first time this season. So congrats, Mitchell. I have given you the kiss of death. You will lose to Zach. What are your thoughts?
You both said I had a shot at winning. You're actually predicting that I'm winning. I don't think I have a shot at all. I've got like the lowest projected total. I'm reeling from the lack of trade to Wes. That has just crushed me. My running back situation is rough. It's a toss up of who the heck I'm going to start. Are they going to be any good? I've got Trey Sermon and Tyson Williams. I don't trust either of them. I've got Khalil Herbert, who's the backup to the backup.
I think this is the week to play Sermon. If you're going to start him, this is the week, Mitchell.
Why would that be?
Because he's on bye.
Oh, yeah. Well, obviously not going to do that. I don't think Sermon's long for. I don't think Sermon's long for my team because I'm getting sick of these running backs I can't start. But that being said, if the Cowboys don't come out and just destroy the Patriots, then I don't really have a shot. So I think Zach wins.
Well, I think the Cowboys are going to destroy the Patriots. So the Patriots are probably going to win that game then too. That'll take us to our next matchup of the 0-5 Jen versus Mitchell's victim last week, Wes. And right now ESPN is projecting Wes with a 53% chance to win this one. Mitchell, do you think Wes is going to bounce back from his loss to you? And is Jen going to continue 0-6?
Listen, I don't know. I guaranteed that Jen would win last week. That didn't happen. I thought Wes would dominate my team. That didn't happen. I can't really figure out what either of these teams are going to do. Wes already has a win, so maybe the universe gives a win to Jen. I don't know. I'm going to say Jen, but I have no frame of reference. I don't know why I'm saying that.
Yeah, I
So
think
you just got a feeling it's going to be Jen.
Yeah, I, maybe it'll be Wes. Who knows? They both suck. I mean, their teams are actually pretty good, but they can't find a way to win. So I'm going Jen.
All right. Jeff, what about you?
well, Wes should be able to start Herbert this week. And after losing Russell Wilson, I think that's a obvious choice to do. Despite having another quarterback on the bench to do. I think Jen losing Saquon is a big blow, and I think Wes winds up winning this one easily.
All right. Well, I happen to agree with you. I think Herbert, he's definitely going to start him. And I think the Ravens Chargers is going to be a shootout. I think Herbert might even beat last week's totals. So, Jen, I am sorry. Wes finally gets the deserved W that his team has been, aching for. I think he definitely won the trade with Adam. I think Herbert is going to be what he needs to combat everyone's best weeks. So, despite what is going to be a truly valiant effort by Jen, Wes is going to emerge victorious thanks to Justin Herbert. Our next matchup is going to be Dan versus Adam, the other half of that trade. And right now, ESPN is projecting Dan with a 53% ratio to win. If Adam had a QB with a higher ceiling than Hurts, I think I would go with him. Maybe somebody like reigning offensive rookie of the year or something like that. I don't know. But he chose Hurts. He's riding with him. So I don't think he is going to beat Dan this week. Mitchell, what about you? Is Adam going to be a victorious Australian or a failed New Zealander?
First of all, I want to comment on the fact that you apologize every time you say Jen is going to lose, but that's neither here nor there. I think that Dan versus Adam match up pretty evenly. Adam's going to have to pick up a tight end. Goddard's going to be probably out with COVID, so he's going to have to find a tight end. It's interesting that he didn't have a backup on his bench, but hey, he's got other decent players there. That's also why we have the extra IR spot, so that he doesn't have to lose one of those players to move Goddard out. Aside from Kyler Murray and all of his crazy upside for Dan, I don't think Dan has a very good team. So I think Adam wins. It pains me to say that, like, very much, but I think he does. I think Adam wins.
Yeah, I think this one's a tough matchup, but I do think that if Cook plays for Adam, Adam wins. If he doesn't, Dan wins. I'm just going to keep it as simple as that.
All right, and our next one, the final matchup of this week, features two of the smartest individuals in the league, also charismatic and podcasters. Not talking about Mitchell, talking about myself, Mr. Donaldson here. We are going up against each other. ESPN is probably higher than I am because they're saying Jeff has a 57% chance of beating me. And honestly, seeing the number 57, it actually brings me a little bit of results. But Mitchell, first of all, you start us off here. What are your thoughts on Jeff and I?
I'm just going to say I'm going to donate my time so you guys can trash talk each other, but I think it's another soft matchup for Jeff. Kyle, your team sucks. Jeff wins.
All right. Well, Jeff, as the favorite in this one, I'll allow you to go first here.
Well, I think, Kyle, you have too many players on a bye week. This is that one thing when drafting when you just totally disregard bye weeks. That you have Kamara out on bye, you have Cordero Patterson out on bye, you have Pitts out on bye, and a starting running back, David Montgomery on IR. I think all of that means no win for you, Kyle. I'm sorry. I think I win this one. I don't want to say easily, but I think I do win.
Well, I will say, the only position that I really look for when it comes to the bye week is making sure I don't draft two quarterbacks with the same bye week. And typically I'll do the same thing for tight end. But yeah, No, other than that, I don't really look at buys. And I didn't realize how many people I was going to have on buy till I looked at the lineup for this week. But honestly, I think that might be a good thing. It's preventing me from making any lineup decisions. The only choice I have is Jared Cook or Mike Gesicki. Other than that, damn it, now I'm thinking I'm going to be in my head all week now about Gesicki or Cook. It's the one roster decision that's going to eat me up all week. But no, literally, I have almost zero room for error. It is what it is. My fate is out there, and I'm going to predict me just because I always predict myself to win. I think if you're not expecting to win, if you don't think you can win, why are you even playing the game? But it is going to be very difficult. Your team is good. But again,
wait, what?
I can't get in my own way this time.
I'm sorry, wait.
Watch it come down to like 2 points,
What
and it's
happened?
going to come down to the Gesicki Cook
just happened?
decision that I make.
Did somebody say my team
I said
was
I'm
good?
going to beat you, but I said your team is good. Yes, I was wrong about you, and I was wrong about Justin. Okay, I can admit it. Both of you have good teams, and my team is okay.
Well, I do,
but
agree
that doesn't
with you,
mean that an
Kyle.
okay team can't beat a good team.
I do agree with you. Not about my team being good, about the draft strategy, about disregarding bye weeks, except for quarterback and tight end. I do agree with you on that.
But yeah, no, I'm going to be really upset next week if I lose to you by whatever the difference in points is between Gesicki and Cook, because you know whichever one I put on my bench is going to outscore the other one. And if I'm given one decision and that is the wrong decision and it costs me the game, it's just, it'll be the pinnacle of my season right there. But yeah, so I think it's going to be tough, but I hope to be victorious and bragging and making fun of you next week. If I do lose, please be more gracious of a winner than I would be. But I do want to bring up something. I didn't put this down on the next show, but it got me thinking, and I was thinking about it earlier when I was looking at waiver claims to make. The one thing I did not think of when we voted to get rid of the kicker is how often I utilize the kicker roster spot to pick up extra people, kind of like waiting to see, like I'll put a waiver claim in for somebody and just drop my kicker just to get that player and then hope that, one of the questionable guys is out and I can move him to IR before the weekend and then pick up a kicker. But not having that kicker really makes picking up free agents and waiver claims a little bit more difficult and having to absolutely choose who I want to drop in exchange for somebody. So I just want to get the conversation started on the idea of, now that we've gone without the kicker, if anyone else in the league is thinking about maybe bringing the kicker back, maybe something we could revisit next year. Just wanted to kind of put that out there into the league universe. And you guys don't have to answer it now. Think about it, stew on it for a week or so.
All
right, go for it.
If we do choose to vote and we do bring a kicker back and somebody hits a 66-yarder, how many points should that be worth? That should be up for debate.
See, that was my thing too with the kickers. I said if we're going to keep them, we should look into redoing the scoring thing. Like, you should be able to get, more points to that. And if they miss a 66-yarder, you shouldn't lose any points.
Yeah.
So, kickers, everybody, that's your homework assignment for the week. Think about it. Do you want them back? What are they good for? How do we want to score them? Or should we just keep them out in the trash like we already did? Other than that, I think this was a good show. I look forward to next week when Mitchell resumes the hosting duties. Good luck this week, gentlemen.
Thank you. Good luck to both of you. I hope you tie with this decimal system. And if I beat Zach, prepare your speakers for what's going to happen.
Well, see, I think here's the rule, though. I'd like to make it look at it. You cannot brag when you win on the podcast if you predicted yourself to lose, because you're still wrong. So I don't know. Well, Jeff, what do you think about that? Should Mitchell be allowed to brag if he beat Zach when he predicted himself to lose?
Yeah, I don't know about that one. I kind of feel the same way you do, Kyle. I think you should be going into every week thinking you're going to win, no matter how bad your team might look, even in your own head, knowing how bad it looks in the back of your mind. I think you should still go into every week thinking you're going to win, just like any normal football team going into any given Sunday would do, or Monday or Thursday, and sometimes Saturday.
You're saying, let me be clear, you're saying if you were to open up a birthday card from, let's say, your grandmom when you were growing up, and you were expecting it to be a birthday card, and there was $100 bill in there, I wasn't expecting. I didn't predict there was gonna be $100 bill in there. I can't be happy about this. Is that what we're going with?
No,
I'm
you
gonna
can
lose
absolutely be
my
happy
mind.
about the victory, Mitchell. I'm just saying you can't brag when you think you're going to lose. You can brag, but you can't do a Mitchell brag, which is what we know you're going to do if you win. So I'm just saying you have to tone it down a little bit if you do win because you predicted yourself to lose.
We'll see. I'm going to lose my mind.
I mean, it's a moot point anyways because you're not going to win.
And the show host.
The show is over, as are Mitchell's chances of beating Zach. Good night, everybody.
Good
or
night.
morning or afternoon, whenever you're listening.
Thanks for listening. Join us next time for another episode of the Dead Wrestlers Podcast.